Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do my spot cleaning my hamster cage, and obviously usually I have a ton of these videos already, but I noticed that none of them, as far as I'm aware, actually shows you what I'm doing and exactly why I'm doing it. So this is more of an instructional how-to video. So everything that I'm going to do, I'm going to explain what I'm doing, and I'm also going to explain just why I'm doing it, and also to give you better tips and things that might help you when you're doing your spot cleaning for your hamster's cage. So if you can see, I still have my Halloween decor set up, even though it is clearly November. So I'm gonna take down some of my Halloween stuff, and I'm gonna switch it out and put back his normal stuff. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Obviously you can count it as spot cleaning, but this is also me just switching it back over since the holidays now passed. So right now I'm just still removing everything, even if it isn't Halloween themed, just because sometimes when I do a spot clean, I also like to reorganize the cage or give him a different setup. I don't change it too much just because it can stress him out if I'm doing it way too often. So I usually would just take out a few things or just slightly move it to a different spot, but nothing too drastic like my regular actual changing my hamster cage. This is a mat that I got from, I believe, either Petco or PetSmart. I do think it's Petco, but I absolutely love this mat. So the moment that I got it, I've always been using it. I just like to put in some food as well as herbs and treats in the mat just to give him another way to forage. So when he always walks through them, he's looking for his food. And I think it's the cutest thing ever. And it's also really stimulating for him. That way it adds a new way for him to look for his food. So here's this coconut hide that I got from Hamster Mill, and it had herbs in it. So each time I do it, especially I like to do at least twice a week or maybe 3 times a month. Not twice a week, twice a month, or like 3 times a month. I would empty it out, just make sure the herbs in there are completely fresh, because I don't want it sitting there for so long. So here you can see I'm making small adjustments. I'm leaving in his dirt dig over on the side of the cage, just because, like I said, I don't want to change it up too much, and I know he's also really enjoying having that area over there. So I'm gonna leave it like that for a little bit, just until I get him some more dig boxes. So as you can see, I'm like doing small changes. And if you can tell, he used to have that blue tunnel like you saw me that goes down there. It goes into a box that's underneath the bedding, just as another hideout for him. But I switched out from that blue tunnel to this tunnel, just because that blue tunnel, I noticed when I was looking at his cage every day, it was easy for it to get hidden, and at one point you couldn't even see it anymore, and I don't even think he knew it was right there anymore, because the way it was weird. So I switched out for a different tunnel, so hopefully I'm thinking that one won't get so lost. But now I'm just putting in his branch back in. I just like to do small changes. It took me a while to figure out exactly how I wanted this to be placed, but I like to have mine stacked up and overlapping and just creating like just a really cool look to it. So you can see at the bottom I have the multi-chamber down there, and I like to give him a tunnel to be able to go down there just as a way for him to want to explore more. So also, if I don't have a tunnel down there leading to that multi-chamber, he usually won't get to it. I think he just, I don't know why, but he usually doesn't. But if he has one, he loves to go down there and groom himself. So I'm just making sure that I put that tunnel back down there so that he's able to go down there and explore a bit more. And this is something you'll always see me doing throughout these videos whenever I'm doing the hamster cage cleaning or setup, is I'm always pressing down the bedding, because obviously as you're moving things and adding new things, the bedding will fluff back up, and you don't want that for your bedding. You want your bedding to be nice and compacted, so definitely remember to always keep pushing it down just to make sure it also helps holds the burrows a lot stronger. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've done this whole thing so far without disturbing Rhino. Up until this point, I always tried to wait for him to naturally wake up and not me opening up his multi-chamber house and waking him up. So once he wakes up and comes out and wondering what all this noise and ruckus is going on in his home, is finally when I will start to decide to go ahead and clean his home area. So here's his. You can see it has sand on it, has herbs and food. So obviously I'm going to throw all that out just because I want to make sure it's all fresh and make sure it's clean. And then here's his multi-chamber house. This is the one from Niteangel. Usually I have it on stilts just so that in case he burrows underneath it holds, but the stilts have literally messed up, so I can't anymore. And I don't know if you can see here, but he's chewed through this multi-chamber house, and I know he's chewing it because not only can you see it like I just showed you, but sometimes I can also hear it. I can hear him chewing on it. I'm not quite sure why he picked that to chew on. I think he's the only hamster I've had that chewed on the multi-chamber house. So I'm going to throw it away and give him another one. I have a 2-room multi-chamber house, but because he's a Syrian, I don't necessarily want to give that one to him because it is on a smaller scale size. So I'm going to order him another one. So until then, I'm just going to completely fill up the cage. And if I decide to, if I'm noticing that like he's sleeping on the outside or anything like that, then I'm definitely just gonna give him the 2-room multi-chamber just until I get him another one. So I felt the bedding where his house was with my hand, and I felt where it was soiled at. So I knew to just grab a dustpan because I find this to be the quickest way doing it rather than using my hand. And it's also the least messiest way for me because whenever I'm doing the cage cleaning, I make the biggest mess ever every single time. So now I'm just, once I completely empty his little area out, I'm just going to add in a bit more bedding. And then once I get high enough, just because I took out his stash of food, I am going to put another food layer. And then I'm just going to continue adding bedding. That way it's as if to him, I never touch his food hoard. And since hamsters are so keen on their scents and having that sense of knowing that's theirs, I'm just going to add some of his old bedding on top just to add that smell back and to make it seem like for him that I didn't completely change it out. So I'm just going to mix in that hay, the Carefresh bedding, and aspen bedding. I really like aspen bedding just because it helps absorb and it keeps the smell. So, and it's also a really cheap alternative. So I do like to use aspen bedding as well. And now I'm putting back in his sand bath. I do want to get him a dish for this. But I'm putting in his sand bath, and I'm also going to use that little hidey house as a spot that he can use as safe and secure, just to be able to groom himself. Hamsters don't take as much sand baths as a dwarf will. You will see dwarf hamsters often roll around in it, but I do encourage to still give your Syrians a sand bath. And then here's his wheel. It's a Niteangel wheel, and I just cleaned it like 2 days ago, so it wasn't dirty. But when I'm doing the spot cleaning, usually you want to clean the wheel with water and white vinegar mix, and you can just spray it on there and just wipe it down. So now I'm just putting in his forage mat back in there, just because I know he really enjoys having it. And now I'm just going to add in a few more of his toys and hides and just fun things for him to be able to do. When you're doing your hamster cage, you really want to try to have it as crowded as possible. Hamsters don't want their stuff to be completely perfect and neat. They really like being able to climb over stuff and go under things as well. So make it adventurous for them and act like you're in their POV. So I got this mini whisk from Dollar General. So it's a way you can get one. It's for like $1 literally. And this is something I like to do with the sand and his dirt, is just go through and just get a lot of the major stuff out. I don't have to have it perfect when I'm spot cleaning, but I just want to have at least a lot of the larger things taken out. And having the mini whisk is really easy, and it really helps with, instead of having to go through with your hands to pick everything out. Alright, so I use moss. Obviously you don't have to have moss, but it just adds a nice texture and adds a pop of color, and it just acts as many things for your hamster. But if you're having a bendy bridge, I definitely recommend having moss, whether it's one like mine's or the more loose ones, just to be able to stick in between the gaps of your bridges, because you don't want your hamster's toes getting stuck. So if you do have the bridges with the gaps in it, I definitely recommend having moss. But you can also use hay. You can also use your hamster's bedding. You just definitely want to fill it up. And now I'm adding rocks in his enclosure. Rocks are really good for your hamster just because it helps trim their nails. You don't want your hamster's nails overgrowing for various health reasons. So I definitely recommend getting rocks, especially if you have a older hamster. And I would definitely recommend putting it underneath their water, just because you know that that's the spot that they would have to go in every time. You can also put some in your hamster sand bath, just because your hamster is digging. They will often grind their nails against the rocks while they're in the sand bath. And now I'm adding in some more of his chews. Your hamster's teeth are always growing, of course, so you want to make sure you give them different textures and different options. And I'm also putting around some herbs. These are great for your hamster's health, and it provides a new thing for them to forage on. So I love adding herbs to my hamster's enclosure. I usually only do this during spot cleanings, so I probably only put herbs in my hamster's cage maybe about twice a month, just because I also don't want to give them too many. So I'm also going to give him a whimsy chew. I usually just break it in half because he doesn't need the whole thing. This acts as another thing for your hamster to be able to chew on and keep their teeth low. And I'm also putting in some dried carrots and dried apples. And I believe I also put in a puff. I just like to give him any options, and most things are just your vegetables. Well, is it vegetables? Fruits? I don't know. I think it's fruits. So now I'm just adding in some more sand in his sand bath area. I'm really going to get him a dish, that way I can make it more deep, like how I would like it. But for right now, I just have it near his wheel area and inside that hideout. So this is what the cage looks like before I put in all of these sprays. This is just very enriching for your hamster. As you can tell, there's many things for them to be able to do and go through. Lots of tunnels, lots of foraging items, just lots of things to keep your hamster busy throughout the night and keep them from being bored and stressed. And here is the cage fully completed. If you can see that hanging, it's the Halloween stuff. I am going to take it down, but I just did not feel like taking that part out as well as the stickers, so I'm going to do that later. So as you can see, it's all nice and full. It has nice color. It's just honestly a really pretty naturalistic cage. Obviously, you don't have to have a naturalistic cage for your hamster cage to be enriching and pretty and just happy for your hamster to be able to live in. this is just something that I gear towards the most. But this is the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and thank you all for watching. Bye.